Thank you so much for coming. This is a fabulous turnout here. And welcome to our Deliberate Downtown Growing by Design, and is offered by the Sustainable Greenfield Implementation Committee. So thanks for coming. And the first thing of offer here is I want to give a special thanks to Hawks and Reed, to Stephen and his sons band for holding this event here, and also for all the amazing stuff. Everything they've contributed to revitalizing the downtown, their quality music, the venue for the theater, the green space co-work space, and hosting so many community events like this. And Ben, I'd like to invite you to say a few words. Where are you? You were right here. Okay.
Hello. Hi, I'm Ben Golsher. I manage Hawks and Reed. A lot of you probably already know who I am, but I just wanted to say how excited I am to have all of you guys here. I'm really excited about Greenfield. I'm really excited about where Greenfield is going, and I think as a community, we can do so many cool things. And Hawks and Reed, I've been pouring my heart into it, and I'm excited to see where Hawks and Reed goes, and I'm excited about all of these beautiful people and what they have to say. So I just wanted to introduce myself so there was a face to the place, and yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ben. Okay, so I'm Nancy Hazard, and I'm the chair of the Sustainable Greenfield Implementation Committee. And I just want to do a quick survey of who's here. The lights always hit me right in the eyeball. I guess that's, oh, now I can see. Oh, that's a little better. How many of you were involved in the master planning process in 2014? Whoa! Cool, excellent. And we've been holding a series of gatherings like this, and I'm just curious if any of you have come to the creative economy we did recently. Okay, a few of you. Reimagining Deerfield Street, moving to a fossil fuel-free future. Not so many. And then and we had an enhancing livability. We held one on housing, and we held one on recreation and transportation. Okay. So, and how many of you came to the event on last Saturday, Dar Williams? Yay! Wasn't that just amazing? It was so fabulous. So this is great to be here, continuing that conversation. Okay, so let's get started here. I want to introduce you and thank Eric Twarog, who's our Director of Planning and Development. So 13 of his 25 years as a planner have been here in Greenfield, and he's been the director for the last 10. He had a central role behind the scenes in creating our sustainable master plan, and he's commented more than once about how impressed he's been with the ongoing efforts to keep the plan alive and being a real living document. So he's happy to be here tonight with us to listen to our dreams and to serve as a resource. And Eric, would you please stand up and let's welcome him and thank him. Thank you. So now I would like to introduce Mayor Roxanne Wiedegartner because she was involved. She sat on she was the chair of the planning board for, is it 16 years? Is that right? 14 is chair. 6, okay. So she was, and the planning board takes the lead on writing pulling together the committee that writes the master plan. And so we've invited her to talk about that process. And I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. Can I be heard? Am I being heard? Okay, great. Can you hear me? So yes, I was probably one of the best things I did in the 16 years. Certainly one of the more fun things that we did in the 16 years that I was on the board was to get an opportunity to create a brand new master plan for the city of Greenfield. And many of the planning board members on the planning board at that time are here tonight. I'll recognize Linda Smith, and I'm probably going to forget a bunch of you. George, a bunch of us. So, and then some some current planning board members, and one planning board member / city councilor, Jenny DeSorger. So it's nice to see all of you here. Everyone, what a great turnout. So the master plan of Greenfield was, I like the title of this tonight, a deliberate downtown growing by design, because the process for creating a new master plan for the whole city of Greenfield was a very deliberately done thing. We had a goal to include the 7 sections that are, I think it's 7 sections, Eric. Okay. 7 sections that are required by the state, plus we added 1 or 2 of our own. So we covered education. I'm not sure education was required in the by the state when you do a master plan, but it's a process that is up to cities and towns to create every 10 years. And our very deliberate plan was to make sure that it was a living document, that there would be implementation, that it would not be a bunch of paper that sat on a shelf and nobody ever paid any attention to it. And this celebration this evening of the 5-year mark is a testimony to that plan, not just the master plan itself, but the plan to make sure it was a living document. I mean, look at the list over there. It's wonderful. We still have a lot to do. The implementation section is at the back, so we've got several more years, another 5, that we can spend looking at some of the other things. But as far as downtown is concerned, again, a very deliberate process in a way. We used the 2003 Downtown Master Plan as a source document, but we felt that it was really important to integrate every aspect of what it means to have a vibrant, viable, wonderful downtown within each section. So where we could, we made sure that a goal or a implementation piece was, and I think some of those pages are being handed out where all the master plan the downtown gets mentioned in the master plan. And that was also deliberately done so that we could understand that the downtown is sort of the engine, the thing that makes Greenfield wonderful, and it has a role to play in housing, in transportation, in really every aspect, economic development of Greenfield. So that was our plan as we set out, and I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time going through. That was the plan. If you have other questions, I'll be out in the audience, so I'm happy to talk to you more about that. But going forward, we have good plans for downtown Greenfield. And I think MJ maybe has an opportunity to talk to you about some of them. I'll just mention them briefly. We have currently a market assessment on the First National Bank, its viability and its demand as a cultural complex downtown. That's going on. I think the final report will come out at some point. As I say, I think MJ can give you more details. We have just put in for a grant, I think the end of last year, for an economic analysis of all of downtown. That grant request went to the Mass Downtown as part of the Mass Downtown Initiative from the state. And it'll be assessing the marketability of Greenfield, the whole downtown. It can be the basis for that marketing plan that I think is essential to Greenfield, and that I hope to begin to take steps to implement over the next 4 years. So I think that'll be a wonderful document to use as the initial plan for how we create economic development and sustainable economic development in Greenfield. Also, I will tell you out of the mayor's office, we are considering doing a housing production plan so that we have a full view of what are our housing needs, and well-documented view of what are our housing needs so that we can plan for those as well. And we also have, I have the czarina of parking improvements here, my chief of staff, Danielle. She is, we have plans in the immediate future to improve, making some parking improvements downtown, and then some more long-term plans for parking improvement downtown. So those are just some of the things that we're still thinking about doing. And I think I'm going to find Hannah.
Thank you so much. I'll steal your seat. I'm Hannah Rekschhoffen. This is really awesome to see so many people out here. I won't redo all the thank yous. But I did want to just reiterate that the mayor pointed out we have a progress table over here of everything that's been accomplished from the master plan in the last 5 years, and it's amazing. It's also on your table, so take a little look at that. And then we have a couple participatory things. If you love Post-its and you love opinions, this wall over here is for you. And it helps us out because then we just know where everybody's minds are at, which is exciting. So for the rest of what we're going to do tonight, I'm going to introduce the panelists, give them 3 to 5 minutes to talk about themselves and what they do and why they're here. I'll ask a few questions, and then we'll turn it over to you all to ask questions. And then we'll wrap up, and if everybody is willing and interested, there's an amazing art opening happening right after this, the art you see around, and I will introduce the artists at the end. But if you feel like sticking around and taking a look at the art, it's a really great example of why we're all here, because this community is incredible. So I'm going to sit down right here, apparently, and introduce everyone. So I'm going to start at the other end. We have Bill Baker, who is the president of the Greenfield Business Association and third-generation owner of Baker Office Supply, which is right across the street. And Jeff Sauser, who is the co-founder of Green Space Co-work, also across the street, co-owned with Jeremy Golsher, who is part of Hawks and Reed family as well. And Michelle Barthelemy, who I'm gonna make sure I get this right, is the chair of the Business and Information Systems Department at Greenfield Community College. Amazing. Rachel Katz, owner of the Greenfield Gallery, a member of Progress Partnership, and one of the co-founders of the Hive Makerspace, which is coming online soon. And Otis Wheeler, who is founder of the Greenfield Downtown Neighborhood Association and a city councilor. So I'm going to turn it over to them, let them introduce themselves. Bill, can I start with you? Were you afraid I was going to say that?
Yeah. Oh. So I'm not a big fan of public speaking, but here we go. So I guess first, I'm wearing 2 hats. So I did a little write-up about the GBA and about Baker Office Supply and our thoughts there. So I think first we'll talk about the Greenfield Business Association. Okay. Sorry. All right. So a lot of people have asked me, what is the Greenfield Business Association? Rachel? Fair question. And so let's start by talking about our mission. And I'll read the mission. And the mission of the GBA is to promote the economic and civic vitality of Greenfield businesses, the business community, to encourage a unified revitalization effort among all segments of the community in order to foster a community of businesses for an economically sound future. So notice that we used the word community a lot. And as an organization, we're trying to foster and build our whole community because if we want to move forward, we need to move forward with the business community, the residential community, the arts and entertainment community, town government, and we all need to focus and work together to create a vibrant and energized downtown. So what are we doing to make this happen? Well, first of all, we assembled a board, and we have about 12 very enthusiastic people. They're in the entertainment business, arts, banking, business, So we got a nice, well-rounded group. I can see a whole bunch of them. I see Rachel, Bob, David, Lucinda. A whole bunch of the board is right here tonight, so that's great. Another positive thing we did was hire a part-time person, Rachel Roberts. So she's carrying out all the board directives. And so currently, what we're trying to do is to gather more members, and we're doing this by providing more benefits for our members, for the businesses. So what we've done, we promoted a solar program where people could save money on their electricity, promoting goods and services and getting discounts for our members. We also did, here at the Hawks and Reed, we did a membership showcase to really show off all the members of the GBA. It went really well. So people could learn about all the different services and products that we offer. And right now the GBA is also currently hosting and managing, or partly managing, visitgreenfield.ma. The site is owned by the town of Greenfield, and we're trying to work with the town to make this site a place to get all your information. So if the Hawks and Reed has an event, you can go there. If there's a sale at Ryan and Casey or Dillon's, or service organizations are having events, you can go to visitgreenfield.ma. So we're really excited about that. We're also very excited about an event that's going to be happening early in July. It's called Greenfield Rocks. And it's an event that will bring the entire community together, and it will be centered around music. And we hope that our hope is that the residents of Greenfield, government, businesses, the hospital, everybody gets behind this event and comes together as a community. By having a strong, unified business community working in sync with the town and other organizations, we can promote a greater sense of pride in our community. This is exactly the kind of event that fosters pride in our community and supports the mission of the Greenfield Business Association. So I hope everyone knows a little more about what the Greenfield Business Association is doing, and so that's my first, that's one hat. So I'll put on my Baker Office Supply hat now. So, I wish I had a magic ball that said, hey, this is what we need to do to have a thriving downtown. I don't have all the answers, but I'm happy to share a few of my views. As a small business owner, all I can say is, really important in building relationships with your customers. I truly enjoy working with my customers and solving problems. I think that goes back to community. As a small business, we need to build a community of customers. But at the same time, while we're doing this, many of the things that I sell are commodity items. And, so a lot of the things that I sell are just a click away on Amazon. And, they're very powerful. They have a lot of analytics. Their website's great, fast. So what have we done today? So what we've done is to basically diversify into areas where we can offer solutions that aren't easily duplicated online. So a couple of examples, we do a lot of bigger copy machines. So we go into offices and we help the customer pick out the machine, and then after that we provide service and toner and parts and labor. And so those are things you're not going to find with just a click of a button. And the same with furniture. The town of Shelburne just called, they're just putting a new police station in. And the police chief says, hey, Bill, I don't have a clue on how to furnish this place. So we went up, we helped with the design, we helped with the measurements and so forth. So it all, we made it easy for them. You're not going to get that with Amazon. They're not going to come help you design it, put it together, and then remove the rubbish. So we try to do things that you just can't do online. So that's how we're trying to grow. And I think in order to get more growth in town, I think we need more. You know, for instance, when Rise Above came and opened up, I said, how are they going to survive? They make bread and they're going to sell coffee, but you know, they do more than that. And so what they do is they're selling their bread to all the local restaurants, and so they have another niche, they have another avenue, and I think it helps so that they're going to be able to survive and prosper. The economic development has I know there's, in order to help new businesses, I know the Economic Development Group, MJ, they have different programs that can help new businesses with rent. And I think any way that we can help a new business start out with supplementing their rent and so forth is really good. And I think we need to do more things like that in order to help new businesses start out. We have a beautiful, wonderful downtown. The quality of life is great. And this place is really poised to explode. We just need to support these young entrepreneurs and foster the community. So, thank you.
My name is Jeff Stauser. As Hannah mentioned, I'm the co-founder of Green Space Co-work, which has one location upstairs in this building and one across the street. So first of all, I guess if you don't know what co-working is, it's essentially a subscription-based, month-to-month shared workspace. And it's particularly suitable for people like myself who are remote workers. My team is in Boston. I neglected to include in my introduction that I'm also an urban planner. But I live in Greenfield, and I wanted to be able to work in Greenfield and not have to commute to Boston or otherwise go find my team somewhere else. And just point out that there are more and more people like me out in the world who can kind of choose lifestyle over location and bring their jobs with them. And so co-working is kind of designed to accommodate that and to provide a platform for folks like that, people who want to grow their businesses with us, need some flexibility, need a cool place and a sense of community. They're tired of working out of their garage or their kitchen or commuting a long way. So we're excited to be a part of that momentum here, and we're happy to grow here in Greenfield. So I wanted to just, as a planner who was not here, unfortunately, when the master plan was written, I am here to see it through its next several years. I can say that it's very impressive and almost unprecedented in my experience to see a plan 5 years after it's been written still inspire this many people to show up. I mean, most of the things that, so yeah, thank you. Most of my work used to be a book on a bookshelf, now it's a PDF and a recycle bin on someone's computer, and that's about it. But it was that commitment to community that was part of what made me want to live here, I think. So I'm happy to see it growing here. So I think, to me, the role of downtown, through my professional lens, personal lens, and business lens, is fundamentally to attract and retain talent, workforce development, families, creatives. I mean, as Roxanne, you said, that downtown is the engine that drives all these things. It's not the only thing that contributes, but it's a huge factor. And we have a great downtown. And also, in combination with the quality downtown, we need to foster entrepreneurship and creativity and leverage some of the built-in advantages that we have here. You know, the things, like Bill said, that aren't commodities. You know, we have a great agricultural community. There's a great lifestyle here, a manufacturing heritage, fiber internet, affordability. There's a lot of great things we can really push and leverage here to make downtown fundamentally a more livable place. I think that's really important. Otis and others are doing some great things to contribute to that. So people like myself, the next generation, can move in. We can maintain affordability and promote walkability. That's another big one. So Hannah, you asked us to kind of celebrate some specific things from the master plan. Aside from everything else on the list, some things that I'm excited to see are the Complete Streets initiative, for example, making Main Street more walkable. And there are ways to do that cheaply with a big impact. Hawks and Reed, of course, is a wonderful thing, and I'm not just saying that because they're my landlord. My other collaborative workspaces in town, another castle, the Hive, just the push to densify downtown, find new ways to introduce housing into town, and everything else on the list, too. I won't read it because you probably all have it in front of you. So I did want to point out, I guess, to maybe to close, to in the next 5 years of the plan's implementation, and as Greenfield is rising, and we've been a part of it, we've met lots of leaders from the state that have come here and feel like there's a buzz here. They feel like something's going on. There's been articles written, and we're excited to be a part of that. We don't want to lose track of some of the challenges that come with success, and we need to make sure that in our planning we anticipate and mitigate some of those issues. So I think, such as affordability and equity, those are big issues. How do we grow diversity in our community? How can we empower smaller businesses and individuals to maintain their strength and bargaining power and whatever it might be in the face of rising competition and prices? How do we maintain our sense of authenticity, make sure artists and creatives still have a place and it doesn't become a generic place to live, because I think that would cause us all to possibly leave. And then in our implementation strategies, as Roxanne said again, try to seek sustainable solutions that don't require an endless stream of grants. How can we seed people who are doing things, maybe give them that initial capital investment or that initial kick that then they can run with kind of eternally from there and build from. So we can put the next investment in the next great thing. So thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle Bartholomew at Greenfield Community College. I teach a Business 111, which is an introduction to business course. And I believe it's this course and what I do in the course that brought me to the panel. The students in this class are students who think that they want to go into business. And many of them, over the years, have told me that they want to find a way to stay here in Greenfield. And so the final project that I tend to give these students in this one class is to come up with a business idea that would meet the needs of the community. And we spend the semester going through the process of developing this business idea. They then present the business idea in a poster session. So from this class came the idea of developing an ideation center or an entrepreneurship center. And this entrepreneurship center is intended to be a place where there are resources for not just the students on campus, but community members who want to start a business or who are in the process of starting a business. And under this entrepreneurship center, we initiated 2 pitch competitions. One is Take the Floor, which was just a basic community event. People paid $5 to come in. They were given a ticket to vote. We had 5 or 6 pitches, and the audience voted on who would receive the money, which was the pool of money that we received at the entrance, as an award. Okay, so it was a great event because everybody in the community was part of it. We did that for 2 semesters, and this semester, actually in October, we'll be offering a business plan competition, and the pot for that is $10,000. So, and it's due to community input. Someone has donated $5,000, and then there are other individuals who have contributed additional money. There are various phases to this business competition. So those are 2 things that we've done. Another thing, if some of you have been on our campus, you'll see in the East Building, when you walk into the East Building, we've built out a cafe lab space. I don't know if anybody's seen it. Yes? Who saw it? And this cafe lab space is pretty amazing because the person who built the counter was someone on campus who had never been engaged in building anything like this counter that we have. It's a beautiful counter. So we had not only somebody on campus learning how to do something that he had never done, but we now have student interns who are taking the skill sets that they're developing in class to help build this cafe business. This cafe business is, as I said, a learning lab, but it's also a retail space for students. So we have a number of student businesses that will be selling their products through this cafe lab. And then the big news, last week it was announced that we received an Urban Agenda grant for $70,000. And two of our partners are here on the stage. So we'll be partnering with the Hive, Green Space, Another Castle, and possibly other people. And we'll be, I think we're renting space for some of our students who might need to develop prototypes at the Hive, and some of our students who might need co-working space. And I think this is the beginning of a collaboration that's showing that the college and the community can work together to help develop a solid economic foundation for everyone. So I'm really happy with that. And when we came up with the idea for the Ideation Center, the intent was not to work in a silo, but to actually bring everybody in the community together to help support young entrepreneurs who are coming out of GCC. Another thing that we're doing is workshops. So we're offering some workshops through Assets for Artists, which is based at Mass MoCA. And we're going to be offering other workshops on Lean Launchpad, some legal advice if necessary for people who want to take their business idea one step further. So the Ideation Center, the Entrepreneurship Center, the Cafe Lab, this is not just the student space. This is all your space. And we hope to see you there.
Hi there. I'm Rachel Katz. I'm the owner of the Greenfield Gallery. Among other things, I have kind of a closet full of hats at this point. And I've been working in a number of different ways and with all of the panelists up here at one point or another on different projects. The first thing I did was to open the gallery. And my reasoning behind that was really simple. When I moved here as an outsider, I kind of came in with fresh eyes. And I met artist after artist after artist, and every single one of them was taking their art somewhere else to show it. And I said, this is ridiculous. We've got all these artists and no art scene. So I hung up a big sign that said art, and lit up a side of the street, and helped to build a little bit of an art scene. And we have one now. I think it's fantastic that so many others have come in. Hawks and Reed got changed hands and started being developed right after I started the gallery, and that was really exciting to have like a second art location pop up right behind the first. And in fact, this week there are back-to-back openings. You can catch the one here tonight, and you can catch one over at the gallery tomorrow. So in the 5 years that I've been working on this, I've watched Greenfield go from a place that was pretty much dead downtown to a place where you can just show up on a Friday night and look around and find the thing you want to do. I live downtown, so a lot of times I just walk out my back door and turn around in a circle listening to the music until I find the one that I want, and then I walk that way. And that is a really different state of affairs. Since then I've become involved with a lot of other things. I'm chair of the cultural district. I work with a group called the Progress Partnership. The Progress Partnership is another business development group. It's not seeking to replace any of the work that's being done. GBA does yeoman's work out there, and Bill and I joke, but I have a lot of respect for the work they do. But the Progress Partnership is a different kind of group. Its main difference is that it's focused specifically on downtown, so it works on downtown projects where the GBA has to spread their efforts over all of Greenfield. It's also a smaller, kind of a more nimble group that has a lot more millennial and younger folks in it that kind of work in a different way. And I think, without getting too deep into it, we all kind of understand that there's sort of a difference between the business mentality of the younger folks now who are in sort of a gig mindset versus sort of the old guard, if you will, that thinks big in institutions. And the Progress Partnership tries to fit in there and be a little bit more active. And out of all that, a number of neat things have happened. I personally, as a business owner, I have marketing is always on the front of my mind. And one of the things that I saw when I came here was that Greenfield wasn't being marketed well. And the gallery, as much as providing a home for artists, also provided a change of image a little bit for Greenfield, because now as Greenfielders, we can say we are the sort of town that can support a fine art gallery. And I hope that that brings at least some people a little sense of pride. From there, I started working on this Beatrice the Bee project that you may or may not have heard of. They're rolling out, by the way, May 23rd is Bee Fest this year. You don't want to miss that. That's going to be really exciting. And it's another project that's aimed, it's not useful. You're not going to see any dollars raining out of bee statues, but it changes the way we think about our city, and it brings civic pride, and it changes the narrative in an important way. Rather than always talking about Greenfield in terms of what we've lost and what our challenges were and how great it used to be when we had 6 department stores on Main Street, now we can look forward and the things that we're building in the future that's out there. So that's really exciting. And as that kind of bee branding started taking hold, the last piece of this is just starting to come together now, and I think it's the most exciting one. My background is in engineering originally. I came to art as sort of the second phase of my life through an odd confluence of events that left me needing a complete change. And I said, well, what haven't I done in my life yet? Because I've done a lot of things. And I said, well, the one thing I've never done is really explore my artistic side. And so that's why I built a gallery and put my studio in it. I figured I'd surround myself with artists. But the making of physical things has always been near and dear to my heart. That's the part of art that I like. I like to close my eyes, see something that's never existed before, and then bring it to life, make it, create it. And there's a lot of people like that. The Greenfield is full of them. It's a town full of makers. We've always made things, whether we've made them in a machine shop that was owned by some big corporation or we've made them in our garage, we've always had that spirit. And so when Robbie Cohn and Linda McInerney came to me and said, we've got this space on Main Street and we need to get something useful to the community in there, what should we do? Should we have a co-op gallery? A performance space? What should we do? I said, we need a maker space. And for those who don't know, a maker space is a shared workshop. So like the co-work space that Jeff has got going is a shared office space, a maker space is a shared workshop. And that really is kind of the third leg of an important sort of stool, if you'll pardon the overused metaphor. It's basically, think of it like a gym membership, only instead of treadmills and exercise bikes and personal trainers, you've got 3D printers and laser cutters and machine tools and hand tools and looms and sewing machines and all the tools of creation, and you're surrounded by all the people who know how to use them and have the experience in them. So you've got collaborators and mentors. And all of a sudden, possibilities just open up. Because how many times, I guarantee you everybody in this room has done this. You're sitting on the couch and you're watching TV or something, and you go, you know what we need? We need something that does this, right? We've all had that conversation, and if you haven't said it yourself, certainly you've been sitting next to someone who's said it. Well, what if Greenfield was the kind of place where every time someone said that, somebody said back to them, hey, that's a great idea. Why don't you go down and talk to so-and-so and see about how to make that happen? Think of all the economic activity that we can generate, and that's what I'm trying to put together with the makerspace. We've got an incredible crew of people. I'm working with Adrienne LaPierre, Linda McInerney, Mark Waller. We've got a whole long list of people that are invested in this, very heavy in the art side. So I think we'll be making a lot of things with an art focus. But as a makerspace, it's completely open. You can make whatever you can dream of. So we're going to have the high-tech stuff. We're going to serve as a pipeline for training high-tech workers for our local businesses. We'll be interfacing with the high schools to get advanced training for people coming out of high school. We're going to be working with artists and theater people who are making set pieces and prop items. And really across the board, everybody's going to find something to do there. And when you add that into this emerging ecosystem that we have here between the co-work spaces and the ideation center, now you've got all the pieces. Wherever somebody comes into that system, if they're going through GCC and they get in the ideation program and they've got an idea, as Michelle said, they need to make a prototype. They need to have office space. Well, now we've got all those components. If we get somebody into the makerspace who's just a tinkerer and just joined up because they just wanted to play with some fancy tools that they couldn't afford, that's great. One day they make something that turns out to be really amazing and they go, gee, I should really sell a few of these. What should I do about that? Well, we're going to have the connections to send them down to the ideation center to learn how to run a business. We're going to send them over to Jeff to get some office space. Boom, there's a business just like that. So that's what I'm hoping to see for the future of Greenfield.
Hi, everyone. My name's Otis Wheeler. I'm happy to be up here with all these wonderful folks and to join you in this conversation. I'm the Vice President of the City Council. I'm also the founding president of the Downtown Greenfield Neighborhood Association. I love what Rachel said about changing the narrative. I think as someone who grew up in Shelburne Falls in the 80s and 90s, Greenfield had an identity crisis of sorts, might be a nice way of putting it. It had low self-esteem. And so something that I see all of these folks doing, and all of you too, is really working to change that narrative. I moved back to Greenfield in 2009 by mistake. And it turned out that I really liked it here, and I stayed. The Downtown Greenfield Neighborhood Association was started, and it's funny because that we have representatives here from the GBA, the Progress Partnership, and the Neighborhood Association. We all do similar things. The Neighborhood Association just tries to fill in wherever the other two are lacking. So we haven't met in a while because we haven't needed to. But I'll tell you a little bit about some of the work that I've done that I think has grown out of recommendations from the master plan. In my work on the Downtown Neighborhood Association, and Jeff sits on that board as well, along with 9 other people. We've tried to act as a booster for the downtown to organize cleanups, again, to kind of change that narrative that also the Positively Greenfield Facebook group has done a lot to do, I think. As part of my work on council, I've advocated for and voted for a new library, voted to approve mixed-use zoning. I proposed a bill that lowers the default speed limit downtown and in densely settled areas to 25 miles per hour, which is in the process of being implemented. Along with Councilor Dolan, I've proposed additional changes to the zoning code, which are being discussed and would hopefully help enable denser housing downtown. It's my feeling about the downtown that one of the big things that needs to happen in order to make this place really thrive is we need to grow the population a little bit. We need to provide the housing, not only the affordable housing that is needed, but also housing of all types. There's, I think people are being priced out of Amherst and Northampton, and if we can capture some of that demand, we can make a downtown that really thrives. I've also, let's see, really my greatest accomplishment, I worked with our tree warden and a member of the tree committee to save a scrawny ash on the corner of Olive and Bank Row. And so we can get started here. I'll just finish up by reading just a little section of the vision statement from the Downtown Neighborhood Association. And you can learn more about us by going to downtowngreenfield.org and sign up for our mailing list. The downtown is our shared space where we come to gather from all over town. It shapes our values, and our values shape it. It enables the chance encounters that drive innovation, the scale that creates efficiency, and the warmth, community, and sense of belonging that many of us look for in a place.
Thank you all so much for those introductions. I'm going to do a quick time check. Do we have time for a couple questions before we move to general questions? All right, a few minutes. I'm going to pass it off in 1 second, but I'm going to ask the first couple questions because I've been waiting. So I think the first question I wanted to ask all of you, and some of you touched on it a little bit, but how do you feel Greenfield residents can really play an active role in the positive evolution of Greenfield? What should we all be thinking about, and where can we put our 2 cents in? Anybody?
Shop local.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Everybody talks about how we don't have any businesses downtown. I'm not coming downtown. I can't even buy a pair of socks in Greenfield. Well, if you want to buy a pair of socks in Greenfield, you're too late because you didn't go to the store that sold socks while they were open. You know, the day that Wilson started their sale, there was a line going clear up Davis Street a half a mile. If we had all been shopping there all the way, maybe they would have stayed. So we still have a lot of great businesses in town. I certainly love that when my gallery needs office supplies, I can walk across the street to somebody I know and know that that money is staying in town, and we can all do more of that.
Absolutely. Anybody else want to?
I think fostering community. I think it comes back to community. We have to have pride in our community, pride in our downtown, and a humanity and a caring for one another. And I think that's what we need to continue to foster by working together and taking pride in all the good things we have in this area, because we're really spoiled. We're very fortunate. The quality of life here is fantastic. The amenities are great, and we are primed to take off.
And so on that note, I also want to say that our young people want support, and they need guidance, and they need direction. They have wonderful ideas. If you saw the ideas that they presented at the end of the semester, and you're all welcome to come to their poster sessions, many of them feel like they don't know where to go. And I see plenty of people in this room who have experience, probably, in some way, who could support young people who want to start businesses. So the community can support the students who are right down the road.
So I would say one thing that I've taken advantage of that I would encourage folks to take advantage of is two things, I guess. One, in Greenfield, there's still a relatively low barrier to entry to start a business, to get involved in something. And I know I've heard some of our counselors plea for folks to get involved on boards, on commissions. There's a lot of vacant seats. Now's the time to do it. We're about to hit a big period of change. Be a part of it.
And I'll just hop on that and say one thing you can do is don't think of the government, the local government, as them. The us and them thing isn't really true in a place as small as Greenfield. Being on the council, and I'm sure the mayor feels this way as well. We are as elected officials, we're the stewards of the public will, and so that comes from you. And the downtown master plan is such a great example of everyone in the community coming together to arrive at a vision that is then enacted by the people that you elect.
Awesome. Yes.
This has me thinking about something I did maybe a week or so ago. MJ has this process that she does of writing letters to new businesses that have come to Greenfield, welcoming them to Greenfield. It's a wonderful letter that I had an opportunity to see. What's important is I sat for at least 20, maybe half hour, signing all the letters of new businesses that are here in town. It was a file folder this thick. So it's really great.
Thank you. Speaking of MJ, if MJ is ready, I think I'm just going to pass the Q&A over to everyone in here because I can see people excited to ask questions. So thank you all so much for your introductions. The easy part is over.
So my job is really easy. You raise your hands, I come over to you, hand you the microphone, and then you ask a question. I think the woman behind me, she tugged on my shirt, so she gets to go first. So I'm going to ask, you're all wearing name tags, and I'm really delighted about that, but when you speak, can you speak into the microphone and say who you are? There you go.
Hi, I'm Nancy Stark. I just bought a house on Ferranti Avenue. And I want to go as green as I can. But at this point, I'm a little overwhelmed with all the information about solar and heat pumps, and I should do this and I should do that. And where can a new homeowner go to get help with that?
I was going to say, where's Carol or Nancy? There's Carol Collins is our Energy and Sustainability Director. I think I need more than one.
There we go. So there is a Department of Energy and Sustainability. First door on the left as you enter Town Hall, and we're happy to help you navigate through all the plentiful wonderful programs that can help you make your home as green as can be and save money in the process. Thank you.
There. All right. Nancy, did you want to add on to that? Because I know Green and Greenfield does some work on that also. Get my steps in today.
I was going to say, I don't know if everyone here is from Greenfield, but FERCog is just starting a new, got a grant in order to be able to help people specifically about navigating Mass Save and also solar programs, particularly for lower income people. So I don't know all the details yet. I was talking to them, and they said, watch their website. It'll probably be another month or two, and then they'll be up and running.
And I'm going to make a pitch because we're doing a landlord workshop series, and the one that's on May 18th, 16th, is actually going to be talking about energy efficiency programs for owners of multifamily properties. So, there. Yes. Next question, Dan.
Additionally, the federal tax credit on solar is 26% this year, 22% next year, and 0 the following year. And if you combine that 26% this year with the mass solar loan, where if your income meets the threshold, you can knock off another 30%, which would be 56% off the top cost of your system, plus $1,000 state tax credit. My question, my name is Daniel. I helped run Pioneer Valley Local First. My question for the panel up there is, Hampshire College is known, throughout New England for having 5 really great universities and colleges, where Franklin County, sometimes I don't think we market enough to the world or even to ourselves that we have 5 plus, top prep schools here right in the area. And, many of those students do come from really wealthy backgrounds. Yes, they're high school students, so we need to, but, how can we facilitate them coming into town more, them, learning from them, us learning from each other, and, helping to encourage them to spend, shop, bank locally, et cetera. Thank you.
Good, there's a mic there.
We'll just go down the line. Thank you. That's a great question. As the gallery owner, I'll wear that hat for a second. I reach out to those schools quite a bit, knowing that there are parents of means involved. But the challenge is that they tend to be kind of siloed, and getting them here is an issue. And I'll go back to saying arts and entertainment is how you do it. You give those kids a reason to get on the bus and come up here, and they're going to come up here.
Great.
I think additionally we also need to work with the administration at the schools, because they, I think, draw them into the community to bring them in and to get them involved and get their students involved with projects we may be working on. They do have resources, and they are very willing to, I think, would be a great way to get them involved and to enjoy work with us.
I would say to help them understand that they have a stake in the health and quality of downtown Greenfield. Increasingly, to attract professors and staff, those people want to live in a place that is fun and exciting and not in the middle of nowhere. And Greenfield is their downtown too, so help them understand that and appreciate that. Same story for GCC. I saw Eve walking around. GCC gets that downtown Greenfield is integral to their success and has already invested in that. But I think, again, there was an article in the New York Times the other day that more and more colleges and schools are making this recognition that people come to those schools, those institutions, not just for the services they provide in the classes, but for a lifestyle. That's more and more folks are looking for a place like this to live, a place that's amenitized, walkable, and exciting, in addition to the great institutions. So I think that's an easy case to make, and we should just make it as directly as we can to them.
You basically said half of what I was going to say, so thank you. No, but one of the things I just jotted down was, I think with the Entrepreneurship Center and some of the things that we are doing on campus, collaborating with these young people at the boarding schools, having them come up maybe on the weekends and do things with us might be something we should think about. Oh, and now I see Eve in the back. So that's on my list of things to talk with you about potentially in the future.
I just wanted to give a shout out to the thing that already brings prep students to Greenfield, the cheese enchiladas at Mesa Verde.
Well, my name is Eve Solomon Fernandez, and I'm the president of GCC. And I was going to, love you guys. I was going to introduce my husband and my daughter, one of my 2 children, my family. They just left. My daughter got bored. She said, "I've been sitting here all this time. I want to go home." So my husband left with her. First of all, I want to say incredible panel. And Anna, thank you so much. I know you've been on my radar. She's been on me for a year and a half now. She's relentless. Thank you so much. And MJ's just been an incredible partner since I came here, making sure that we get to meet the businesses, the college gets a sense of what the needs are and how we can help. And as a newcomer, as a resident of Greenfield, I just want to say how thrilled I am that we have an incredible mayor. And I just feel, there's a lot of vision, there's a sense of vibrancy, and to bring in everything that the aspirations and the things that MJ and others and I have talked about is just really, it's really exciting to be, I guess, close to a middle-aged person here with small children, and to see this as a vibrant space where our entire family and our community can thrive. And we're delighted to be I'm delighted to be part of the community college and to get to work with incredible folks like Michelle, and also the work that we're doing with Jeff and Jeremy. There's more to come. Everybody here, yes, exactly. I mean, I could name everybody here on the panel. But also, we have Tim Dolan here, who is one of our counselors and one of the folks behind the scenes making it accessible for students, regardless of where they fall in terms of their age, to have access to education and to post-secondary education. And I'm just thrilled to see so many of you here, so many of us here, and this is a great community to be part of. Onward and upward, Greenfield.
Thank you.
I forgot to recognize our brand new, if she would stand up, Workforce Development Chief, that is Dawn Creighton, and she lives across the street. So please come in. She'd love to see you. She'd love to give you a tour and figure out how to engage.
All right. Next question? Yes, thank you.
Hello, thank you all. You're all wonderful and make me feel really proud and happy to live in Greenfield. I've lived here for about 15 or 16 years, and just what's that? Who are you? Hi, Peter. I'm Chris Walter. Hi, thank you. Thanks, Peter. My thought for many years has been, and I know it's related somewhat to parking and all, but the idea of being able to come downtown and be visible in downtown and see people go by. Can we figure out some way to have more outdoor seating at restaurants in downtown? Because that makes a vibrant downtown, and I sometimes leave town on a nice night to go eat someplace else because I want to sit outside and I want to watch the world go by. And I'd really love to do that here in downtown and see my neighbors and see friends and be like, hey man, look at that thing going in across the street. I didn't know that was happening, to kind of get that engagement. So if that's possible, that'd be great.
Yeah, thanks for that.
And I've got to say a credit to Rise Up. They're the only people I know who put tables and chairs out in the middle of January, and people sit there. Yes. Okay.
Oh, and I use those
that.
tables too. I just wanted to jump in with that, and again, credit Tim Dolan, who started Ice Cream Alley with me. I've since exited, but they have downtown seating during the season. And I think that this is an issue that has clear demand, and that we are in the city are all working to find a way to continue to enable downtown seating and get out the idea that it's welcome, the people want it, and we want to give it to you.
Great. Yeah. Did we have one? Sorry.
Hey, and I would build on that. I think outdoor seating is one of many things that are actually easy to accomplish. Doesn't cost much to have a few chairs and tables and put them out there. Just maybe a policy change. Maybe that's not even necessary. There's a number of other things. There's a whole school of thought. Tactical urbanism is the name, and that we could go on a whole another session about that. But there's a number of things that are in the master plan that maybe imply a certain multi-million-dollar investment before you can even do it. But in reality, you can accomplish it with some paint. for example. You could turn Main Street into a complete street with bike lanes and a narrower, safer right-of-way with easier parking with a few buckets of paint and a couple policy changes and test some ideas. And there's a number of other experiments you could make like that with tools we already have. We don't need a big grant necessarily to do it. The city is our laboratory. The times are changing. A lot of cities are doing this. There's a lot of precedent. And I know amongst the leadership, there's a lot of support for trying some of these ideas.
I also want to remind people that a couple years ago we actually did what was called a charrette, where we talked about closing down Court Square on a more regular basis. And we use it for the farmers market now on Saturday morning. But there is a discussion about, we actually have plans and designs to actually close it on a more permanent basis so it becomes a pedestrian area that would be more permanent. So, and anybody can see those. Those are online. You can hop right on our website. So I'll turn over next question.
Hi, my name is Cherie, and I live very close to downtown. I live about 5 or 10 minutes, not even 5 or 6 minutes walking. The concern that I have about when we talk about Greenfield growth and development is there's neighborhoods about 2 blocks from downtown. And it's concerning for me because I'm in one of those neighborhoods. When the community center went in, it was all wonderful for Greenfield, but it was surrounded by a neighborhood pretty much on all 4 sides. So when I hear about Greenfield growth, I just get concerned. I'm not far from Wilson's parking lot, and let's throw a skate park in there. And I just go kind of bonkers because this is my neighborhood. This is literally my backyard. So for folks of us that live in Greenfield and don't live away high up on the hill, how can you offer those of us that have neighborhoods right in downtown some reassurance that growth would take those of us into consideration and not encroach on our neighborhoods and our backyards?
It's a really good question, and it's something that we're talking about with the proposed zoning changes. Long term, I would encourage the city to take a comprehensive look at zoning, to consider adopting a form-based code like Smart Code that does a better job of recognizing the transition between starting with the rural edges of the city, the neighborhoods, and finally the downtown. Our zoning now recognizes it, but there's room for improvement there, in my opinion. What we need to get away from is the idea that all development is bad. And the reason that we have that idea is because it was for 75 years. All development was car-oriented and did not make places that people want to live in. So I think that a lot of us on the council and in City Hall, we want the type of growth that doesn't change the character of your neighborhoods, but integrates with them. And whether that means replacing parking lots with 4-story buildings, whatever it looks like, we don't want to change the character. So I don't have an easy answer to this, but I can tell you it's something that we think about and that we are working to make sure happens.
Other questions?
Hi, my name's Amy. I'm really glad to be here. Thanks, everybody. I just thought of this as one possible and possibly substantial opportunity for attracting some revenue for one project, and that is, I guess I would ask, does anybody think that if there's a short period of time when Wilson's is empty, and we hope it's a short period of time, would that, given what it is as a potential location for film, that, it's such a period piece, right? How many department stores still look like that and still exist, are intact? So I just thought of that as a possible, if anyone has a way, do we want to even keep that in the back of our mind as a possibility for contacting location managers for film? The movie industry.
I don't have a specific answer to that exact question, but in the same spirit, I think that it's Greenfield's in a position right now, and Wilson's a good example of there have been some talk of something really exciting coming in there at some point, but there's going to be an interim period, and there's interim periods in other spaces as well. The more that folks in town and landlords are game for trying things out, like I was talking about in the public realm on the city side, could we pilot a new restaurant or a new shop or a new business in a space with a short-term lease and kind of low stakes for the experimenter, and take advantage of our low barrier to entry here and see if we can get something going. And if it does take shape, then it has legs to grow. And I think the Hive is a great example of that. It's a landlord that believes in that idea and has given them room to grow it. And if it's successful, then it'll take care of itself and move on to the next great experiment. So Wilson's is a good example of a historic building that can stay alive a little while it looks for its permanent new future.
Great.
Thank you for that idea. We're going to steal it. I just want to say I'm going to take this opportunity now to put in a plug to all of the counselors that are in the room. It won't happen this year, but that speaks to why we need an economic development staff that isn't just staffed by 3 people. We need to have an economic development staff that has a marketing director that is implementing a real marketing plan. That won't be done for free. So just keep that in the back of your minds, counselors, because you get to approve the budget, that at some point before too long, things like that are going to start showing up, and it's going to need the support of the community on that. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Jan Mayer, and I would like to follow the comment from just before that comment to say that right across the street here, in a building that has stood on the rental market for several years, there is now a new community arts center, and we have done precisely that. We've got a low startup, low overhead. That doesn't mean we have no overhead, but we've got a lot of stuff going on, and we accepted the 49 people maximum in order to move into the space and get things going. So please visit the Lava Center. It's hard to find because we don't even have a sign out yet, but it's between the TD Bank GSET door and Pushkin. And there is a door there, and it leads into this new community arts center where there's actually a lot going on already. So please come and visit us.
My name is Doug. I want to sort of recognize all the efforts that you're talking about and want to make sure that we don't become a split city any more than we are in terms of those who have and those who don't. So thinking about the ways that we support people who are low income or no income or hoping to build income, and so attracting those wealthy kids from wealthy schools is nice, but we have a lot of other children and families in town who need support. Those buses you want them to ride into town on, I'm wondering where they are and how we can have them happen so that we have public transportation that actually works on weekends and evenings. And that we, as we're generating business, we're also not losing sight of the fact that we have a lot of people who need support and don't lose that.
Hi, I'm Sandra, and I went. Oh, okay.
I think this is a really important subject, and I don't want to let us slip it off it too quickly, and thank you for raising it. I know that everybody up here has talked about it. Whenever we talk development, we have to talk about gentrification and how to avoid it, and how to make sure that the people who do all this work to build Greenfield, to make it a great place, are still welcome here after it's turned into a nice place. And I'll only speak to the efforts that I'm involved with in that, and others can speak to theirs if they want. But the makerspace, to me, is it's fundamentally democratizing an aspect of life that we don't normally think of as privileged. But the ability to access tools, to have a parent that teaches you how to use tools, to have tools around the shop, around the house rather growing up. Not everybody has that, and certainly there are significant barriers to access the higher tech the tools get. And you know, I was in a position where there was a day in my life where I could go out and buy a $3,000 3D printer and learn how to use it, but not everybody can do that. And what a lot of people don't realize is that before you can even use the 3D printer, you've got to use a computer and some software, which together might cost you another $10,000 before you can design the thing that you're going to put on your 3D printer. And so as we're building the makerspace, which by the way is organizing as a cooperative, because I'm a big believer in the solidarity economy and having the community work together on things, how to make it accessible to more people was one of the first things we talked about. And so what we've done with the GCC is they've set up basically a scholarship, so their students will get memberships to be able to come use the space. And we've got from our very first pro forma business plan, like how much are we going to allocate for scholarships for low income and for needy people. And I think that unlike outside development, you know, if you get a rich developer comes in, makes the place nice, drives the rents up, that's all great as far as it goes, but it doesn't involve anybody in the community. And something like this, if I put tools in the hands of somebody who wouldn't otherwise have had them and empower that person to create something and to reach for a dream, now they've got a fair shot at it. And I think those are the kinds of ideas that can help lift everybody together so that we don't leave anybody behind as we do it.
And to piggyback off of that, the Ideation Center is intended to help students and members of the community who would not normally have access to certain resources come in, get that support from me, from my colleagues, from members of the community to help move their idea forward. We're not going to discriminate against anyone. And the goal of this is to help people who wouldn't necessarily know where to go for resources and not necessarily have the resources.
I'll say from a housing affordability standpoint, which is a major component of one's outlay every month, I think it might be counterintuitive, but embrace new development, the creation of new housing, because it'll take pressure off the affordable housing stock. In a community where there's not enough housing that might, you know, there's a mismatch between what people can afford and what's available. So for example, in Mission Hill in Boston, all the students moved into all the affordable housing units because there wasn't enough student housing, and it forced everybody out. And then the city made the universities build housing to free up that housing stock again for the people that needed it. So I think as we add housing, we can free up some of that stock to open up more affordability options for folks. And then also, it probably doesn't make sense economically to develop a new construction housing development at the moment, or it's borderline. So generally a developer is going to need some help from the city. And as long as developers need help from the city can leverage some demands. And some of those demands can include affordable housing. And finally, when new good things happen, such as the farmers market, they should come with a cognizance of how to include everybody. So the farmers market offers assistance to people who need it so they can participate in the fresh food economy too. So.
What? Shall I? My turn? I'm Sandra, and last night I went to the Garden Theater for the free movie. How many of you knew about the free movie last night? Okay, I just read about it in the paper, but what I didn't know is that Isaac Mass has set up a routine now where community businesses who want to promote their image in the community and their business pay for the license for the film to make it free. They get to hang their signs out in the lobby of the theater. We get to go to a movie for free and see their stuff. And it's just a wonderful combination of people gathering, people being visible who are in the business community. And Isaac, he said, you know, the concession is where he makes his money. So he wants everybody who comes to buy popcorn. But I think it's a wonderful resource for our community that's new.
Hi, I'm Jacob Frank. I'm a junior at Greenfield High School. And I'm going to start off by saying I'm not going to call you old. But I'm going to take a guess that it's been a few years since you guys have been in high school. And I would like to know if you guys are going to try to get input from teenagers and young adults on what they want to attract them to Greenfield downtown, if you guys are going to work on that.
Well, I can say that working within the board of the GBA, I've got to meet with Ben and Jeremy, and the other day I asked Jeremy, and I guess he's not your age, but he's a little older. But I said, you got any recommendations for me? And he said, let me think about it. And he sent an email back, and so business owners are willing to listen, and I think maybe that's a great idea. Maybe we should reach out to younger people and say, hey, what do you want? I think that's a fantastic idea. But so Jeremy responded, and he says, hey, Bill, you need some couches, and you need a few pets hanging around, and you got to make it. And like, I don't know if I'm ready for that, Jeremy. But I'm open, and I want to create new ideas, so and generate excitement. So I think I love feedback.
I would say that it's incumbent on us as the old people and the leadership and those of us who are invested in this community to make it a place you don't want to leave.
And so one of the things that I'm trying to do, at least at GCC, is to have my students talk to their friends who are younger, like yourself, and make them aware of what we're doing, and make them aware of how exciting it is to be on our campus at this time. So we haven't forgotten you. We're doing this for you, okay?
I'll just add that, what he said, get that young man a job. I don't know of a specific plan, but I would love to see a forum just like this specifically dedicated to that issue, because the fact is that the world is changing, and I'm in that in between. I'm that Gen X generation, so I got boomers on one side, millennials on the other. And I got to tell you, more often than not, it's the millennials who have their heads screwed on straight and the boomers who've been stuck too long doing what they do. And look, I'm not trying to knock every boomer. Look, I'm not trying to knock boomers. You guys had a good run, but it's time to turn over the reins. There's a really smart young generation, and we need some new ideas to make this world a better place.
All right. So I just wanted to add, I think that's an awesome question and awesome of you to get up and ask it. And we wanted to mention that there is a youth position open on the Sustainable Greenfield Implementation Committee. And it might not be you, that might not be your thing, but if you know anyone, we would love a younger voice on this committee, because looking at the master plan, talking about downtown, your voices are absolutely invaluable, because it's a whole spectrum. All of us in the room need to raise our voices. So if it's you, you let us know, and if not, find us a friend, okay? Okay. Awesome.
All right. So it's now like 3 minutes before 7 o'clock, and we're wrapping up. I know there's no more questions that people have. We'll welcome you to stick around during the opening that's happening. Okay,
yes.
And I'm supposed to turn it over to Hannah.
Yes.
So thank you all for all your questions and for all your comments and input. And don't forget, well, Hannah will tell you.
Really, this was such a great conversation, coming on the heels of the conversation last Saturday. I mean, this is really what it's all about. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Hawks and Reed. Thank you, community members. And if you can stay, if you want to hang out for a little bit, there's an opening of Making Black History. The art that you see around you is the art of Rodney Madison, Dr. Karita Mayfield, and Diego Sharon. So please stay, learn more about it, talk with artists in your community, and let's just keep the ball rolling. I'm getting things pointed at me. Oh, the survey.
There's lots of good food.
And food.
I invite everyone to stay.
Yes. And there are surveys on your table. If you can take a second to fill it out, it informs us what you're interested in. And if you want to get in on the posting and look at everything that's been accomplished, and we just so appreciate you. So thank you. Thank you to the mayor. Thank you to everybody. It was awesome.